Good morning. I'll continue in Latvian.
Dear participants of the conference, I'm really honored and happy that I have been entrusted with leading the session related with physical activities at schools. And I am honored to invite our speakers of the first session. We will have 4 speakers today. The first one will be Miss Eli Karin Flagtvedt, representing Norwegian Directorate for Education and Training. Please, Karin, we're waiting for you. The next one will be Oliver Fontaine, representing European Commission Directorate-General for Education and Culture. Please, Oliver. The next speaker will be representative of Finnish Ministry of Social Field and Education, Mrs. Sirpa Sarlio-Lähteenkorva. And the next speaker will be representative of World Health Organization, Mr. Edgars. The topic of today is dedicated to physical activities at schools, the role of local governments, and also yesterday we stressed more the importance of involvement of public society, local governments, and other stakeholders. And as we have been stressing the role of schools as the place where children learn the basic skills for implementing healthy lifestyles. And although the family is the roots for healthy lifestyle, the school is the place where these habits are further developed. Therefore, it is very crucial to put the right basis for each and every children. Today we will have speakers both from the academic circles, international organizations, and you will be informed also about the good practice examples from Finland, so that we can have a wider overview of the whole situation in the field. And now I would like to give floor to the representative from Finland. But before that, I would like to say that today we will have a modern technology exhibition in the whole Jura on the ground floor. You will have the possibility to observe and examine modern technologies related to healthy food and physical activities. So please use this opportunity. The exhibition will be opened until 1:30. And now I give floor to Ms. Eli Karin Flagtvedt from Norwegian Directorate for Education and Training. And Ms. Karin is working with Norwegian Ministry and Education and Training for 19 years. She has held various offices, and she is a great specialist in relation with promoting healthy lifestyles and how these issues could be included at schools. Thank you. Karin, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. First of all, I must say thank you to the Latvian organizers, both for the conference yesterday, but also for the dinner. And last night was fantastic, not least the music. I think there's lots of good health in good music. It was brilliant, so thank you. For the next 20 minutes, I will give you a brief introduction to the Norwegian curricula for physical education, and also how Norwegian authorities aim at reducing inactivity among young people and children. Before I do so, I think I'll start and give you a brief introduction to the Norwegian school system and the Norwegian curriculum system. Compulsory schooling in Norway is 10 years. Sorry. There we are. Compulsory schooling in Norway is 10 years, and children start at the age of 6. Primary and lower secondary education is founded on the principles of a unified school system that provides equal and adapted education for all, on the basis of a national single curriculum. The school system can be divided into 3 parts. Primary school from the age 6 till 13. Then we have lower secondary education from 13 till 16. And in the end, we have upper secondary education from 16 until 19, including vocational education. Primary and lower secondary education is compulsory, whereas in upper secondary education, the pupils have the right to attend to school, but it's not compulsory. In Norway, we have a decentralized school system. This means that national authorities set up goals for the education, whereas it's a responsibility for the local authorities to determine the content based on the national curricula system. And I think that's quite important for you to understand how we work on physical education as well in Norway. The curriculum system in Norway consists of a general parts and principles of education, in addition to subject curricula. All subject curricula in Norway contain regulations on teaching hours, and they are quite strict when we compare them to other countries. The subject curricula do not contain detailed information about what and how to learn, but they do describe competence aims instead of activities. So it's up to local level to design the activities, but they should do so on the basis of the national curricula and the competence aims. We have, in many subjects, a system of continuous curricula, from primary to upper secondary school. This means that the subject curriculum, for instance for physical education, describes the same purpose throughout the whole school system. And the competence aims describe progression from one level to the next. In the curriculum for physical education in Norway, there are no specific goals for talent development. Young people with a certain interest or talent in a specific sport, they develop their talents through local sports clubs outside school. Though, in upper secondary education, there's a program for sports and physical education, and one of the optional programs there is top level sports, and I'll come back to that in a moment. Then, the curriculum for physical education. All subject curricula in Norway have the same structure, and as you see on the screen, that is a purpose, main subject areas, teaching hours, as I mentioned, and you can see the teaching hours in the physical education curriculum in Norway. Also basic skills, which I will not talk about today, competence aims, and then a little chapter about the assessment in that particular subject. The main areas in the subject of curriculum for physical education, they differ from level to level. For grade 1 until 4, we have just one main area, which is called physical activity in various environments and settings. From grade 5 till 7, we have two main areas. That is sports activities and outdoor life. And then finally, in lower and upper secondary, we have the same main areas, three of them, and they are called sports activities, outdoor life, and exercise and lifestyle. And within the main areas, we find the competence aims. They can be seen as building blocks, where the level of complexity increases with time. And for some curricula, like Curriculum for Physical Education, the Directorate for Education and Training has developed guidelines to the curriculum. The guidelines contain examples and advice for teachers on how to make use of the curriculum for physical education. If you're interested, you can look at the website of the Directorate for Education and Training, and you will find this curricula with guidelines in English. I'll talk a little bit more about the purpose of the subject physical education. The purpose of the subject states that physical education shall inspire physical activity in all aspects of life and inspire lifelong enjoyment of being physically active. The purpose also states an important social aspect of the subject. The subject is important for promoting fair play and respect for one another. And not only respect for one another, but also respect for one's own body. The subject should help the pupils developing a positive perception of the body and help them to understand the ideas about health, nutrition, exercise and lifestyle. Pupils shall learn to understand how their own efforts can help them reach their goals and what factors can motivate for activity and exercise. One important objective for teaching physical education is for the teachers to develop physical skills and provide the foundations for an active lifestyle and lifelong enjoyment of exercise. The teachers shall do so through a wide selection of activities, including both traditional but also alternative physical activities. All pupils should get physical challenges and test their own limits, no matter what skills or ability level they have. This means that many of the competence aims take the pupils' own physical limitations and skill levels into consideration for assessment. And pupils' effort is a great part of the basic subject assessment. The pupils should learn that no matter what limitations or skills they have, their own effort matters. It makes the difference. As I mentioned, we do not set up a specific talent program for pupils in Norwegian schools. But in upper secondary education, you can see that the pupils can choose between 13 programs, and one of them is called Sports and Physical Education. This program is very popular. Pupils at this program get, when they have finished 3 years of education, they get a general university and college admissions certification. The main principles of this program in upper secondary, they are based on the same ideas as the curriculum of compulsory school. Learning in this program shall promote enjoyment, excitement and challenges, and contribute to the experience of mastering and development of individuals' self-image. Work with this subject shall promote and develop responsibility, caring for others, and appreciating others' efforts. Teaching in this subject shall help counteract prejudice and discrimination and promote mutual respect, tolerance, and care. The main areas of this are sporting activities, basic training, and outdoor life. And as I mentioned, this program provides the optional program top-level sport. By choosing top-level sports, young people shall be given the opportunity to combine upper secondary education and training with sports at a high performance level at both regional, national, and international level. I've now spoken about the curriculum for physical education. When we talk about nutrition and a healthy lifestyle, I just want to mention too that other curricula contain competence goals concerning healthy lifestyle also, but I will not go into detail. You will find these in our website also in English. But we have the curriculum for food and health in primary and lower secondary education, and also the natural science curriculum consists of competence goals for a healthy lifestyle. However, I would like to pay a little attention to the optional subject in lower secondary education. In 2012, the Norwegian government introduced 14 new subjects in lower secondary, and they were all optional. And the most popular one is called physical activity and health. More than 1/3 of the pupils in lower secondary education choose this subject, and which is in many ways has the same purpose as the curriculum for physical education, with a focus on lifelong active lifestyle. In addition, pupils will gain insight into the significance of a good balance between acquiring energy and consuming energy. Learning in the subject shall also contribute to developing knowledge and the ability to evaluate nutrition advice, which we get a lot of, and recommendations for daily physical activity. And as I said, Norwegian curricula is competence-based. That means that it is not enough to gain knowledge or skills about nutrition advice. You also have to show the ability and the competence to live by them. I've now spoken about the curricular system for physical activity in Norway. I will now go and talk a little bit about some activities outside the curriculum system. From 2009, pupils in school between the age of 10 and 12 have 76 hours every year of physical activity in addition to subject physical education. The activity is adjusted to make pupils, no matter functional level, to experience joy, mastery, community, and a variation during the school day. There are no competence aims for these activities, and the local level decides the content of the activities. We know little about how schools arrange these activities, but the Directorate for Education and Training has now asked our new Center for Food, Health and Physical Activity to collect information on these activities, on what works and what does not work so well at local level, so we can learn from one another. I just mentioned the new Center for Food, Health and Physical Activity. The center was established in 2013 in a cooperation between the Ministry of Education and Research and the Ministry of Health and Health Services. The center is a resource center for promoting good health and physical activity among children and young people. The center will highlight and promote the relationship between good nutrition and regular physical activity and children's health and learning outcomes. One main topic of the center is the important role kindergartens and schools play in preventing disease and promote good health and further to help reduce social inequality. For 2015, the main tasks for the center are to collect and disseminate knowledge based on research on how to work with children and young people in kindergartens and schools. The center shall also develop support materials for subject curricula and develop support and guidance materials for teachers, who at school are the main target group together with school leaders. Finally, I'll just briefly mention some other initiatives from authorities aimed at school in Norway. Yesterday, we heard Joanne Raymond mention dropouts from physical activities, that young people tend to drop out at the age of 13, 14, 15. I recognize that challenge. We have it in Norway. They drop out from activities. There might be many reasons for that, of course, but I think that maybe computer games, etc., are some of the reasons and might lead to inactivity. So if they do not go to sports activities anymore, we have to try and collect them and make some other options for them. In Norway, national authorities and NGOs work together to promote physical activity. For example, we have a policy and a tradition to encourage recreational sports. And then I could mention that this year, in 2015, we have the Year of Outdoor Life. We hope that this year will provide lasting results in terms of increased participation in outdoor activities in all parts of the population, though the preferred target groups for this year are children, young people and families. We hope the year will provide greater awareness of how outdoor recreation provides positive effects related to public health. The year will further raise awareness about the good opportunities we have in Norway to exercise outdoors. The foundation of the project is local activity organized by various organizations, clubs and associations. In addition, there will be a number of national events and projects. We heard yesterday about some of the countries who have serving meals at school. In Norway, we do not have a tradition or a system for serving meals at school. Children bring their own food, and most children can buy milk and fruit at school. Nevertheless, the Directorate for Health has published guidelines for schools on how to make sure that pupils have enough time to eat during school day, and that schools should be aware of the importance of nutrition and learning outcome. Finally, I'll just briefly mention that national authorities also have additional approaches to reduce inactivity among young people and children. As we heard yesterday, also the Directorate for Health in Norway recommends at least 60 minutes of activity for young people a day. This being a local responsibility, we know little about how these activities are organized at local level. But we know there can be activities like competitions between pupils or classes or schools on how many were not driven to school this week and how many steps do you take during a day, etc. But we do not know enough about how this is organized. But we have a new center, and we are glad for the new Center for Food, Health and Physical Activity. I think that the center will contribute to more activity and, not least, a lot more knowledge on what works in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Eli. Kā nākamo, man tas gods stādīt priekšā Alē.
Now I have the honor to present to you Holman from the European Commission Directorate-General for Education and Culture, and he's going to speak about issues on our health enhancing activities outside school level and from the European Commission point of view.
It's a pleasure for me to be here today and to explain you what we do from the sport side of the European Commission, what are our initiatives. I'm replacing my deputy head of unit. Indeed, she's sick, so she apologizes for that, and she would have been happy to be here with us. I'll structure the presentation around three topics. The first one will be the EU policy context for the sport policy and the HEPA policy, Health Enhancing Physical Activity of the EU, what we do at political level. Then I will say something about funding, what funding possibilities we have in the field of sport. And finally, I will say something about the EU Week of Sport, which will be organized for the first time in 2015, which you might have heard about already. So let's start. Yeah. First of all, let's put maybe the sport policy a bit in context. It's actually a recent policy area. It has been introduced by the Lisbon Treaty, which entered into force in 2009. If you look at the treaty and the pyramid of the different types of competencies of the EU, where you have at the very top the areas, the policy areas where the EU has exclusive competence, then in the middle the areas, policy areas where the EU shares competence with the member states. Human health and sport, they're actually at the bottom of the pyramid, where the EU has competence to support member states' actions, to coordinate or supplement member state actions. So what does that mean concretely? It means that the EU will not be allowed to have directives or regulations in the field of sport. The strongest instrument would be then Council recommendations, for example, and we have one, and I'll come to it in a minute. So, sport in the EU, we have an article, we have a legal basis in the treaty, in the Lisbon Treaty, fine. Then on that basis, on this article, the EU is defining policy orientations or priorities, and it's doing that in so-called EU work plans for sport. And these are actually multi-annual programs defining the framework of cooperation between the member states and the EU. So what does it contain? Practically speaking, it's actually containing a set of priorities on what member states and the Commission are going to work together. The priorities, then a set of concrete outputs. What do we have to produce together in that multi-annual program? And there is also a timetable. So there was an EU work plan covering the period 2011-2014, and there is a new one covering 2014-2017, which is running at the moment. and we'll go in this one a bit in more detail in a minute. Then those work plans, they're producing, as I said, concrete outputs, and these outputs would be things like recommendations or guidelines or that type of documents. And to facilitate the implementation of those recommendations and guidelines or whatever on the ground, the EU has a funding program which is called Erasmus Plus Sport, and it's the sport chapter of the big Erasmus Plus program, which can then be used by member states or any stakeholder to implement the recommendations which come out of the work of those under those work plans. So let's have a look now at the EU work plan, which is running at the moment, which is covering the coming 3 years. I say it's a document of the Council. It's actually a Council resolution, so it's basically the member states themselves agreeing on areas where they believe that working together and with the Commission makes sense. So it's not the Commission deciding, oh, we should work on that. It's really member states agreeing on that. And in the current one, we have 3 priorities. The first one is integrity of sport, where we find topics like the fight against doping or match fixing or violence. The second priority is the economic dimension of sport. And the third one is the one of interest for us today, sport and society. The work plan defines 16 outputs. And to work on the 16 outputs, the Council decided to set up 5 expert groups, which you can find here on the slide: match fixing, good governance, economic dimension of sport, HEPA, health enhancing physical activity, and human resources development in sport. The HEPA expert group will work, for example, on something which is highly relevant for the topic of this conference. They will have to elaborate recommendations in the field of to promote physical education at schools and interactions with the sports sector, the local authorities and the private sector, because it is recognized that the cross-sector dimension is something really important, and that it's not only about practicing physical education at school and then nothing else. I mean, it has to be seen in the broader context, and in that sense, the recommendations are really valuable. They have to be produced by the end of the first semester, and I'm happy to see in this room several experts contributing to the work of that group. Okay, so this was about the EU work plan. So this is our framework of cooperation with the member states. This is what we do. But let's come back to the problem a minute of physical inactivity. We heard it yesterday already, and I think we'll hear it again today. It's not a new problem. We know the problem for many years. The last Eurobarometer on sport and physical activity confirms the issue. We have 60% of citizens saying that they never or seldom exercise or play sport. This is really a lot. We have the figures from the OECD, which say that 17% of adults are obese and 35% are overweight. We also notice that in some member states there is a reduction of time allocated to physical education. So these are kind of worrying signs. And we know what works. We know what does not work. Obviously, the biker in the middle of the traffic jam, that's probably not working. And we can see also those people going to the fitness center and simply not taking the stairs. So we know what works. We know what does not work. We know also that this has a human cost in terms of premature death, issues related to physical and mental health. This has also an impact on economy, on our health systems, on the employability or productivity of citizens. And all these things have probably triggered the Council recommendation on HEPA, which I will present now. This recommendation is actually from November 2013, and it's, as I said, it's a non-binding legislative act, because remember, we are at the bottom of the pyramid. It is based on the 2008 EU Physical Activity Guidelines, and the idea is that it's there to support and encourage member states to develop and implement cross-sector policies for the promotion of physical activity. There is that cross-sector dimension which is really emphasized in that Council recommendation. Then the Council also acknowledged that there was a need for data, and then decided to put forward in the Council recommendation a monitoring framework based on 23 indicators. So it's a limited set of indicators which have deemed being useful by member states themselves, because it's the Council at the end who did that. And it's a number of indicators which is limited to limit also the burden on member states. We really want there to have something which is useful and which is not creating too much burden. If we have a look at the substance of the recommendation, it invites member states to develop cross-sector approaches involving different areas, so sport, obviously, health, education, environment, and transport. So it's not only about one sector or promoting physical activity in one sector, that's probably happening more or less efficiently, but now the idea is to do that cross-sectorally. Member states are invited to monitor physical activity levels and their HEPA policies in general on the basis of the 23 indicators. They have been invited to appoint focal points, so contact points in the member states to collect those indicators, and they have been called focal points. And they have been invited to closely cooperate among themselves and to exchange best practices, to learn from each other, and to cooperate also with the Commission. But the Commission also got some tasks from the Council recommendation. We were, in the Commission, invited to assist member states in adopting their strategies, their action plans, and we're actually doing that in the context of the expert group on HEPA, which I mentioned earlier in the context of the EU work plan. Remember, there's an expert group on HEPA. In the context of that expert group on HEPA, member states are sharing what they do, explaining what they tried, what did work, what did not work. The Commission was invited to provide support to the focal points, because we have 23 indicators. It's not so much, but it's not necessarily easy. It's cross-sectoral, so there's a need to have a common understanding on how to measure, to collect the data, so we are providing support to the focal points. The Commission is also invited to produce statistics, and we might do that in cooperation with Eurostat. Then to support and closely cooperate with the WHO, which is preparing country profiles, specific fact sheets per member state. This is going on, so we had actually with WHO already 2 meetings with the focal points, and we have at the moment draft country profiles for the first 8 indicators. We have a subset of 8 indicators which have been already generated. And the last thing the Commission is supposed to do is submit a progress report to the Council. So this summarizes the overview of what we do at policy level. So we have a Council recommendation, 2013. On that basis, member states are encouraged to adopt national strategies and action plans. They're sharing among themselves in the context of the expert group on HEPA. And at the bottom, you see we have the focal points, collecting data, feeding WHO and the NOPA database, Nutrition, Obesity, and Physical Activity database. The WHO preparing the country profiles, and then the Commission taking that work to prepare the progress report to the Council. If you know that, you know everything which is relevant to know in terms of promotion of HEPA in the Commission. Then my next topic will be about funding. under the Erasmus Plus Sport funding program. The Erasmus Plus program in its entirety is actually a new program from 2013, and it's there to boost skills and employability, and also to modernize education, training, and youth work. It's an integrated program because it's merging different programs which were running until there independently, lifelong learning programs. We had Erasmus, which we all know, Comenius, Youth at Work, and many others. They have been all integrated into one nice integrated program. It's an ambitious program. It's a 7 years program, total budget of 14.7 billion, which represents an increase of 40% to the current level of spending, and that illustrates the commitment of the EU to invest in those areas. And the novelty is that now, and for the first time in history of the EU, there is a sport chapter. So the EU has now the possibility to support and finance, co-finance sports and HEPA projects. So there is a sport chapter in Erasmus+, and the objectives of that sport chapter are summarized on the slide. The first one is tackling cross-border threats to the integrity of sport. The second one is the promotion of good governance and dual careers of athletes. And the last one is a social objective where we find things like voluntary activities, social inclusion, HEPA, sport for all, equal opportunities. And if you look at those objectives, and if you remember the objectives of the EU work plan, you will immediately see that there are similarities, and this makes obviously a lot of sense. The program is there to implement policies, so there is a clear alignment of both. And the Erasmus Plus program, Sport, is there to implement on the ground the output from the work plan. So how do we achieve the three objectives which I just mentioned? By financing a number of actions, and these actions that we can finance can be of 4 different types. The first one, collaborative partnerships. That's basically projects where we have a set of a number of partners, they have to be minimum 5, proposing a project and running a project together to achieve one of the objectives. The second action we can support is not-for-profit sport events. I think that's clear. And for these 2 actions, we have annually a competitive call for projects. So we get a bunch of proposals for projects, we do the evaluation, and then the selected projects can start. Then the Commission can also spend money for strengthening the evidence base for policymaking. In clear, this means studies. So the Commission can launch studies and collect data, figures. And the last thing we can do with the Erasmus Plus Sport program is funding dialogue with stakeholders. And the main thing we do under this is organizing the EU Sport Forum, which takes place annually, which is a big event for us. The budget of the sport chapter of Erasmus Plus is 265 million euros, which gives an average of 38 million euros. And the first year of the program was 2014, so I said it's a quite recent program, with a budget of 22 millions. The budget of 2015 is again 22-something millions. And the idea is that we start slow with a smaller amount, and the budget will increase over time with an annual growth, and then we'll reach much more substantial levels at the end. But the average per year is then 38 millions. And something interesting to note is that the focus is on grassroots sport, so we don't want to fund professional sport and elite sport, but we really want to have an impact on the ground and on citizens. A word on the calls. There was the first call in 2014. We got 440 applications, so I think it was quite successful. The projects have been selected, and we can find the list on the internet since December. We fund finally 41 projects, 38 partnerships and 3 events. And if you look at those partnerships, we have in the 38, we have 16 which are related to HEPA, which is a lot and which is a good thing for all of us here. The call of 2015 has been published in November, and it's still open until mid-May, 14th of May, so you can find all the information you need on the website of the Erasmus Plus program, and you're absolutely free and invited to submit projects. There was, I mentioned here, an earlier deadline, 22nd of January, for projects related to the Week of Sport. That is closed. So the evaluation is in progress. We'll announce the results for the projects awarded in March. And the last topic I wanted to cover is the European Week of Sport. It's actually not an idea from the Commission. It originates from 2012, when the Parliament called for a large-scale event to raise awareness on sport and physical activity. And in the same year, the Council invited the Commission to consider exactly that, the establishment of an annual European Week of Sport. So after that, these two calls, the Commission worked closely with Member States and stakeholders to develop the concept, because there are many weeks existing in Member States, there are many kind of promotion of physical activity, and the idea was not to replace all those things and to duplicate the efforts, so the concept has been elaborated together, and sports stakeholders are really important, having an important role in the shaping of the week as well. The objectives are really to touch citizens, so it's not only about sport, it's really about physical activity, and we want to inspire people to be more active, and we want to do that on the long run, so we don't want that they practice sport for a week and then nothing else. We really want to have a sustained impact on citizens. The idea is to facilitate and promote their participation, maybe give access to open doors to clubs and things like that, where they would discover new sport and then they might be willing to continue. We want to touch everyone, everywhere, local levels, all social classes, whatever, people with disabilities. So the idea is to have an impact really on the whole society. As I said, we don't want to replace what is existing. We want to add value to the existing initiatives, so they will remain. And we want to encourage and facilitate new initiatives to be launched in the Member States as well. And the existing initiatives would then be put under some kind of reference framework, some kind of label. And for that, we will offer communication tools, which will be announced in April, if I remember well, and which will facilitate also the work of the Member States at Member State level. The whole campaign is put behind the hashtag #BeActive. Then if we dig a bit more on the concept is built on 5 building blocks. Focus days, so there will be on different days a focus on specific themes. I'll list them in a minute. There will be a flagship event, a big event in Brussels, but then mainly it will be activities at national level. The idea of the week is clearly not to have a set of conferences organized in Brussels for officials or for politicians. It's really to organize activities at national level. There will be a program of ambassadors, and we have already, and we might have more, partnerships with relevant sport organizations. And all this is really incorporated in a major communication campaign which will be launched in April. These are the 4 focus days which have been selected. So we have one on the education environment. So they're all related about places. Education environment, the work environment, outdoors activities, and sport clubs and fitness centers. So there will be one day focusing on each of these topics, themes. The flagship event will take place in Brussels. It has to be linked, obviously, to the policy agenda of the EU. We have several ideas already, but the final choice is not made yet on the topic, so I'll not mention anything.
Oliver, 1 minute, okay? 1 minute.
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
Participants will be at policy level and stakeholders, and it will be combined with physical activity as well. The ambassadors will have 4 to 6 ambassadors at EU level, so people from the sport domain, but not only, so people inspiring citizens to practice sport. And we also encourage member states to have ambassadors at national level as well. The partners, I said we have already a set of partners. These are the partnership agreements which have been signed end of last year. We might have more, and these partners committed to organize actions during the week. Well, the budget, we can have a look on the slides. Actually, the total budget for the first year is 5 million, and it's probably going to stay 5 million on the long run. We have in the different member states national coordinating bodies. I said the week will be mainly events at national level, and we really count on member states to organize the week at national level and to have an impact on their citizens. So we have 27 member states participating to the week and having appointed a national coordinating body. And we have also already 3 countries from the countries benefiting from Erasmus+, so out of the EU. And they will get a total budget of 2.2 million, which will be shared among them to organize the week at the national level. And this is how the week will look like. So the first year, second week of September, the launch event on Monday, the 7th of September. Then on Tuesday, the education theme, the flagship event on Wednesday in Brussels, then workplaces on Thursday, Friday outdoor activities, and then in the weekend, sport and fitness clubs. At the request of member states, there will be some flexibility, at least the first year, where events will be organized not only on that week specifically, but they might be organized also until end of September. And this is my last slide. So to recap, we have at policy level, we have the work plans, we have the council recommendation, we fund with the Erasmus+ sport program, and we have a campaign for the promotion of physical activity for all on the ground with the week of sport. These are a set of links and email addresses in case you want to ask something or check something. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Oliver. Un kā nākamo, man tas gods pieteikt.
As our next speaker, I would like to introduce Sirpa Sarlio-Lähteenkorva from the Ministry of Social Affairs and Health in Finland. She is health promotion specialist and healthy lifestyle and physical activity promotion specialist in this ministry. She is author of a number of publications on health promotion, and Finland is an active country with very good indicators. Also, in the parliament we can see that.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And I have a very, very challenging and interesting topic. I will be talking about promoting physical activity and healthy lifestyle with urban planning, infrastructure, and environment. But before I start, I want to thank the organizers of inviting us to this beautiful Riga with very fantastic food and nice event. And I especially enjoyed the last night's dinner with also some physical activity. So thank you for that. Here is the outline of my presentation. We had heard a lot about the importance of social and physical environment in promoting healthy lifestyle with physical activity. And I will add one more dimension, discuss the role of government in creating and enabling environments and promoting physical activity. And I will use my country, Finland, as a case example how we do it, starting from key issues like principles and key actors, to strategic papers, guidelines, legislation, and finish with follow-up and benchmarking. So you get a snapshot of the picture how we are doing things. But I start with the governments. In our view, governments play a key role in promoting physical activity. We can influence living circumstances and environments. If you want to, for example, walk or cycle, like Edgars said yesterday, you have to have safe roads for this purpose. You also need some services for the maintenance of roads, you need bikes, or maybe walking stick or walkers for the older people. So services are also needed. You also have to make sure that people have skills and information and support and guide individuals and families and communities for physical activity. And to do this, there are a lot of tools that governments can use. There's actually a huge toolbox of things that are available for governments. We have information-based guidelines like guidance for physical activity. We have legislation, or we can do legislation, norms. We can use fiscal tools to support physical activity. Money is very important, so where we put the money, how we allocate resources, influences physical activity and healthy lifestyle. And of course, there are other important issues like intersectoral cooperation and steering of the administrative sector that are important in this sense. So these all are key elements when you think about urban planning, healthy environments and infrastructure. But of course, before you can start using these tools, there has to be some kind of common understanding what you want to do and what are the problems and where are you aiming at, and some understanding of the potential solutions available. So you have to have things like government programs or strategies within ministries and beyond. You can have government resolutions and strategic papers and action plans to guide your actions. And behind there has to be information. So evidence-informed decision-making always requires data. And to make things work, you have to have an implementation plan with clear objectives, responsibilities, and follow-up with process and outcome indicators. Of course, sometimes you have a different situation. You may not have similar aims, but you may have similar solutions to different problems. Take walking or cycling, for example. In my country, Ministry of Health wants to promote walking and cycling because of the health benefits. But when we talk with the Ministry of Environment, they want to tackle climate change and reduce emission of carbon dioxide. The target is very different, but the solution is similar. Less transport by cars, more walking and cycling. So sometimes you can find this win-win situation and you can merge interests. So how are we doing it in Finland? I start with some basic principles of the health promotion we have. First of all, we always want to change the way things are done. That means influencing structures, using community-based interventions, setting-based interventions and approaches. We don't really do campaigns much in Finland because they cost a lot of money and they are very short. The results live very short, so we try to change something permanently. We usually always have a universal approaches, which means that we have a whole population as a target group. We want to move everybody. We talk a lot about the vulnerable groups and socioeconomic inequalities, and of course you have to tackle those problems too, but the approach is universal. Everything should be covered. And last but not least, in this slide, we use health in all policies approach a lot because we think that health, determinants of health and equity should be taken into account in all decision making in different sectors. And for that, you need intersectoral mechanisms for implementation, like horizontal committees, health impact assessments, and formal and informal consultation. These are all used in promoting physical activity. So, who are doing it? Who are the key actors in Finland? And I put the key actors in 3 levels. There's, of course, the government, and I'm very much talking about the perspective of the government now because I come from the Ministry of Health. But I'm not the only minister that is involved in the physical activity. There are other ministries that are as important or even more important, like Ministry of Education, that is responsible for funding sports and education, Ministry of Transport for cycling and transportation routes, and Ministry of Environment. And these all must be on board. Municipalities in my country do all the practical work. I mean, they are responsible for implementation, they are responsible for local strategies and plans and follow-up. They provide all the basic services, including services for physical activity, recreational facilities, and sports sites. And then, of course, there are other sectors like NGOs and sports, but also on public health, youth, others that work with physical activity. And in order to make all these pieces fit together, we have various horizontal mechanisms for cooperation, like steering group for health and enhancing physical activity that covers all the key ministries. It's actually chaired by 2 ministries, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health. But there are also NGOs, there are local people, there are municipalities, there are research people. So everybody is involved. And then we have an advisory board, for example, for transport-related physical activity, and also National Sports Council. So we have structures of doing it in a cross-sectoral way. Then you need some kind of common view or strategic papers, at least in my country. And this is one of the key documents I'm showing you. This is government resolution on development guidelines for health and enhancing physical activity and nutrition. So here we have also integrated approach. We are combining nutrition and physical activity. And this came with an action plan, and there were a lot of activities around, and still is. So this is important document, but I'm not going to discuss it in detail. I'm just showing you the overview of everything. Then there are strategies within specific sectors, like specific ministries. And this is a strategy done by Ministry of Transport, and it's a national strategy for walking and cycling. It was done 2011, and a year later they developed an action plan how to do it in practice with 33 different actions and 4 different themes, because we want to, well, the goal is, first of all, it's to do more journeys by walking and cycling. Currently, 30% of the journeys are done by foot, and we want to increase it a little bit by 2020. And there are 4 areas we want to change. We want to change attitudes, we want to change infrastructure, we want to change urban planning, and also governance of these issues. And to this aim, these actions are made. And there's also 11 indicators with annual follow-up, and we are going to have evaluation or mid-term evaluation of this strategy and action plan next year. So I don't have any results yet, but they will come next year. Okay. Then we have like more general strategies, and this is actually the key strategy for physical activity now. It was accepted a little bit more than a year ago, and an action plan was accepted half a year ago. And it's about promoting physical activity and health with 4 broad themes. We want to reduce the time we spend on sitting. And we are just in a process of drafting recommendations how to do that in practice. They will come out before the summer holidays. And we have already started working and changing things. For example, in my office, most people now have adjustable tables, including me. So we can work and do the computer stuff standing up. And little things like that can make a big difference in a day if you think you spend about 8 hours in the office. I must admit that it felt a little bit odd when I got the table and I had to stand up, you know, but you get soon used to it, and now I don't want to lower the table anymore because it felt much more natural to move a little bit and do it walking. And I don't have any back pain, so it's also with some health benefits. But we are going to have the recommendations, like I said, in a couple of months. Then we have other targets like increasing physical activity through the life course. We also want to have more physical activity within the health sector. That's the third target. And also change the attitude and strengthen the status of physical activity in a Finnish society. And implementation of this strategy is coordinated by a cross-sectional steering group, like always in Finland. I mentioned that legislation is important, and there are many pieces of legislation that are relevant for physical activity. I'm just showing you a snapshot of some of them. We have a Sports Act that covers organization and funding of sports in Finland, and it was actually revised just recently. Parliament accepted the new revision, I think 3 or 4 weeks ago, so it's relatively new. And what is new is that we are even more emphasizing cooperation as a basis for funding, cooperation between sectors and also outside the public sector. And we are also emphasizing more health enhancing physical activity. Then there was a talk about the health education earlier this morning. We also have health education as a mandatory independent subject in schools since 2001. And we have nutrition and physical education classes that have been in the system for I don't know how many years, a long, long, long time. Third piece of legislation I'm showing here is a Healthcare Act, which is actually very important when you think about the urban planning, because it emphasizes that health promotion at local level in the municipalities that are responsible for infrastructure and strategic planning need to be taken into planning, coordination, and there has to be health impact assessments and frequent evaluation and report of decision makers of the actions and plans made. And that is a very powerful tool because you have to discuss what you are doing to health at the local level. If you are building a house and destroying the place children play, that's basically something that you can tackle with this piece of legislation. And then finally, because we are talking a lot about children and obesity, I just want to mention that we have maternal care and child care services that are covering almost 100% of the population. And the legislation covers nowadays guidance on weight management, nutrition and physical activity based on family needs. I mean, we are not giving the guidance if it's not needed, but there's an option of having it if you need it. Okay, then about money. Money is always important because that's a very powerful tool to steer things. Ministry of Education is responsible for funding sports and sport facilities in Finland. And just last year, they published new guidelines for the principles of supporting facilities. We give about, or they give about 25 million euros every year to sport facilities, and it means that about 10 to 20% of the costs are usually covered. The maximum is 25, but I know in some cases, for example, with swimming halls that are very expensive, it can be even higher, but there is an upper limit. And we have set priorities. We prioritize facilities that target population, large population groups, and needs of the population. We want to promote equality, sustainability, and accessibility to all. Yesterday, somebody told that girls don't do so much exercise as boys do. It's the same in Finland, and in practice it means that if somebody builds something that is attractive to girls, they are more likely to get money and more money because we want to give the money to those groups that are not so active. And also the cooperation between sectors and stakeholders is very much emphasized. Some more about the money and the facilities. In Finland, municipalities own about 75% of the sport facilities, and they are main recipients of the money. I mean, it can be given to other partners too, or other parts too, but it's usually municipalities. Sport facilities is only one part of the puzzle. Ministry of Education spends much more money in promoting physical activity, and about 18% goes to the facilities, 28% to sport NGOs, and 21% to supporting knowledge, capacity, and research. So they are different areas that are funded. I told you that we are not having very many projects and campaigns, but of course we have some, and we have something for the key groups in the society. And I'm just showing this one to you because today or yesterday the theme has been very much the school environment. We have a program to promote physical activity in schools in Finland that started 5 years ago with a pilot phase. Now we have about 500 schools taking part, and each school carries its own plans to activate school days. And the ways of activation can be many different types. I'm not going to discuss this process in detail. I just want to show one slide. We have different ways of increasing the physical activity as such, but as important, or maybe even more important nowadays, is how to decrease passivity. That's the key thing, because we can't have very much more physical lessons, but we can change the way we teach children. We can have more breaks, and we can answer the teacher standing up and sit on gym balls and do all kind of little things to make the work school more active. But it's up to the school to decide what they do. So they have this menu of options and they decide what is best for them. And we target both school days and also the free time and commuting to schools. Okay. We have other programs too. Again, I'm not going to discuss these in detail, but just show you a flavor of activities that are ongoing in my country. Obesity is one of the key challenges, and we have a special program to overcome obesity that covers both healthy nutrition and physical activity. And it's very wide program. It challenges different stakeholders, from the government to the NGOs and also the private sector to work towards this aim. And luckily it seems that we have been able now to stabilize the obesity, so it's not going up anymore. And some research so it's even in lowering a little bit, but we just hope it stays. It's not something that is kind of a temporary stuff. Okay, then I move to the very, very important part, and that is the following activities. Because we know that follow-up activities is crucial, and you also have to make them visible. And what I'm showing you here in front of your screen is one of the key tools we are having, Teaviisari, which is a kind of compiled process indicator of the activities that are happening at the municipal level. So we are collecting health promotion data from all municipalities, and we are putting the data online. And the goal is to make health promotion more visible and influence also decision making. And what I'm showing you here is the data about the physical activity and what has been happening in past 4 years. We collect the data every other year. And we have some key areas we are looking at. We are looking at commitment, which is mainly what is happening at the strategic level. I mean, do they have strategic plans and funding and things like that for this? Then we are looking at the management, which is very much like implementation of the activities, what is happening there, or are things going well? Then monitoring what is happening in the community and what are the needs of the population, and are you using the data in decision making? That's another area. And also resources, including what kind of staff you have, what kind of competencies, and so on. Is it possible for people to participate in the activities? That's participation. And if you look at the picture, I mean, we are in the yellow in almost all areas, which means that improvement is needed. But, well, management is now in a good shape. But we are improving. We started the system only 5 years ago, so I mean, it is still ongoing, but we can see improvements, which we are very, very happy. And this is also very clever too, in a sense that because it's online, everybody can go and check what is happening in their own community. I know that this is a quite bad slide, and I apologize for that, but what this shows is that, for example, I can check my municipality. I can go to the internet and see how Helsinki, my city, is doing compared to other cities or the neighboring city or the region. And that makes the system very transparent. So this is very important tool also for policy making and planning and participation.
1 minute,
yes.
okay.
And this I think I skip, but this just show you that we have individual information about what kind of activities the communities are doing. Like we see that promoting cycling and walking is only half of them, so we need to act more. But some things like cooperation between sectors is already at very good level. So this is the, information about that. Just showing very briefly what is happening in physical activity in Finland. We have been collecting data in 40 years, so we have very, very long-term data. And we see very clearly that leisure time physical activity is increasing. It has been increasing all the time. So that's something that we are very happy about. But workplace physical activity has decreased, also commuting. And that's one reason why we are now feel very strongly about this reducing sitting and doing something at the school places and working places, because that's a place we have a lot to do still. We can't very much increase the physical activity at the leisure time anymore. This slide, just shortly, this shows that there are socioeconomic differences in physical activity, but they are a little bit decreasing, so they are which is also a good sign. One more thing, all the sport facilities in Finland are online. So if you want to check the facilities, you can find them from this webpage. And there are about 33 places, man-made places for physical activity, most of them outdoors. And you can also check, where you want to do, if you want to do skateboarding, to provide a map and do listings and all kind of nice stuff with that. Most often people visit jogging places, and we also collect how many visitors there are. Okay, there are a lot of challenges, of course, in physical activity and promotion of physical activity. I think the cross-sectoral thing and cooperation is the key. I mean, if you can make that work, then you can do a lot. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to go in details on that. I finish by just, reminding you where I started, that we often see physical activity and diet as an individual responsibility, and of course it's up to the individual to decide what they eat and what they drink. But what we eat is very much dependent on the food environment. How much we exercise is very much dependent on the environment we live in. And in order to tackle the problem and change things, we have to have politics and policies in place to make the easy choice the better choice. But of course we have to take into account all kinds of issues like resources and so on. But that was it. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Un kā nākamam es dodu vārdu.
And the next speaker is going to be Dr. Edgars, who represents the World Health Organization. He is responsible for good governance and policy issues. The World Health Organization does a lot to promote sports and physical exercise in the whole world. So, Edgars, you are welcome, please.
Dear colleagues, I would like to start with a recommendation that if you happen to be the last speaker on a table like this, it's better not to have a PowerPoint, because it's very likely that the previous speakers will have covered a lot of what you would like to say. So I'm delighted I don't, but this gives me the opportunity also to highlight some issues that I think are very important in taking forward an active living agenda, which is the main theme of this conference. But I would like to start with a couple of images that always stay in my mind, and because I think to a great extent, because we are all so familiar with the facts and the evidence, we are looking for not just inspiration, we are also looking for ways to communicate all this knowledge to those who are supposed to be making the decisions for change. One image that has stayed with me for a long time was from a panorama program in the UK, and it was a journalist who stood on the top of a hill in the city of Sheffield in the north of England. It's a hilly city. And he did something very simple. He said, the children that are going to be born in that part of the city are going to be better off. They will have access to better schools. They will have better access to healthy neighborhoods, access to greens, to sports. They will be better educated. They will be better employed, and they will live happier and longer lives. And the children that are going to be born in that part of the city are going to have less access to good facilities. They will not live in an as healthy environment as the other children. They will have less opportunities for education and employment, and they will live 10 to 15 years less than the other children. And that was the story of a city. Then there is another story. There are cities that have a vision for all. I live in a city, Copenhagen, where is the headquarters of the WHO Office for Europe, where 35 to 40% of people who work there go to work by bicycle. Now, I say to my friends, if you don't cycle in Copenhagen, you will never cycle in your life, because you have it on a plate. What we say is a healthy choice is an easy choice. If you were to take a healthy choice in my hometown, which is Athens in Greece, it will be a deadly choice, because the chances of you being injured and killed will be very high. So the idea of a supportive environment is crucial in the way we promote our policies and strategies. But then we keep talking, as I was saying yesterday, about other actors, about stakeholders. But where are they? We keep talking to each other. We keep presenting the evidence on the determinants of health to each other. We keep congratulating each other for the knowledge of what we should be really transmitting to others. And, you know, intersectoral action is also not something new. I have books in my office that go back to the 80s and even earlier. The Health for All movement was based on intersectoral action. But what happened? What went wrong? I think for a long time we have been very one-way in the way we were transmitting the information. We thought we knew everything because we could tell other sectors that what they were doing had an impact on our health. We had to find better ways to share that knowledge with other sectors, to understand where is the education sector coming from, where is the environment sector coming from, where is the transport sector coming from, and create a common basis and a common vision. Telling other sectors what to do, it doesn't work. We need common platforms, common ways. But above all, we need opportunities to share this knowledge. We need the mayors. Where are the mayors in this room? I mean, we talk about local action, about healthy living. You can have the best policy, national policy in the world on sports and active living. if you don't explicitly involve local governments, local leaders, it will never happen. Because physical activity happens where we live, where we work, where we go to work, where we have fun. And the idea of an active city and active living, it's related not only to health, it's related to socialization, it's related to social cohesion, is related to safety, is related to mental health, is related to so many other aspects. But there are a few issues that we should be aware of. One is that creating the supporting environments in terms of physical or natural environment is essential. Always not forgetting what I said before, that the cities should have these facilities, these environments distributed evenly. So everybody, no matter where they live, they should have that opportunity. But we should also take into account the ever-changing social landscape of our cities. Europe today is not what it used to be 20 or 30 years ago. The migration waves, the aging of the population, they have changed a lot the social landscapes. We have to think about that. We have to think of the social, but also of the cultural determinants of health. There was a study undertaken by the city of Copenhagen, which is a city, as I said, that it is, one of the best in the world in terms of providing cycling lanes everywhere. But they wanted to find out who are the less users. They went out of their way to identify which social groups were not using the cycling lanes and why. And it was very interesting because there was a very strong cultural connection to the use of those lanes. There was a gender connection sometimes to the use of those cycling lanes. So when we talk today about the role of local governments, I would like to state from the start that we need to have the big picture. We need to be strategic. Being strategic means because resources are limited, we need to identify those interventions in the short, in the medium, and the longer term that can have a real impact. When you travel around this great continent, there is no shortage of exciting examples, of exciting initiatives. But I always have in my mind, is this initiative sustainable? Has anybody thought what is going to be not the today and the tomorrow, but the day after tomorrow? Or is this facility going to be accessible to everybody who can need it in town? Because I can't believe that we build great sporting or other facilities in one place and not in another. There is a health institution somewhere in Europe with a big sign outside that reads, "Remember those who are outside." And although we're not talking about health facilities here, I will just say the same for any facility we create in our cities. Remember those who are beyond our reach. How can you bring everybody to be part of an active city, whether we're talking about participative, formal, informal sports, or any other type of facility? So sustainability is really essential. And a city also that it is safe in terms of active living for children or for older people is actually good for everybody. I think we have again to think of all ages. Before we heard it from our colleague in Finland. And the whole idea of working with urban planners in the Healthy Cities movement in the European office. And that was really an extraordinary experience. To work with urban planners now, we've been doing this for about 10 to 12 years. we started from zero, or I would say even -0, because we were coming from very different worlds. But as years progressed, we began to develop the idea of healthy urban planning, about landscaping, about designing neighborhoods, about home designing, about urban sprawling, land use, and so on. And there are so many aspects of urban planning that are so closely connected with health and well-being. And we develop a common vocabulary, and all that has then, in the end, to find its right place in the city strategies and plans, because those will also promote better use of energy, better traffic, better intergenerational interaction. Active living is not only children doing gymnastics in one place. A grandfather takes the children into the green. It creates cohesion and networking at all levels. And I think this is the essence of making sure that we have leaders who have the leadership and the commitment. I should have said yesterday that when we talk about health promotion and public health, we should remember that 50% of public health is really about politics, and the other 50% is about science and art. Because a lot of the change requires a true commitment, a true leadership, but also the involvement of the community. It doesn't happen otherwise. We all go to technical conferences, we get inspired by speakers who present all sorts of interesting things, and then we go back home and we feel numb because in the box of our department we can't do much. You need mechanisms that facilitate the interaction with sectors, the dialogue, a common vision, a common understanding. So I think this is what makes the biggest difference. Lastly, I would like to say that there are good examples of cities today. Cities and local governments have to be explicit partners in health promotion, in promoting active living. They have to be visibly with strong roles in national strategies. They are also local governments, let us not forget, and we hear about health in all policies. Local governments are in the best position to be conveners of different interests. It's far more difficult to do it nationally. It's much more easy to bring different departments, different sectors, to listen to the citizens, to bring even the private or other sectors, the voluntary sectors. Local leaders do not have just the power of making decisions, but also they have the convening power to create that interaction. And all the change happens there, and then it permeates upwards. So it is bottom-up, but you need the leadership from the top. You need that kind of vision. We have many publications. If you look up active living and urban and governments or healthy cities on the WHO website, you will find several examples and publications that I'm sure you will find useful. Probably this is an area, one of the purest areas of health promotion, where we're not talking about food or alcohol or smoking, we're talking about a source of life, something that everybody agrees and everybody can benefit from. So I believe that active living, and especially when we invest in our children, when they get the good habits from the start, is going to make all the difference. Ultimately, health is a political choice, and all leaders at all levels of government have a crucial role to play. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gisturus. Now we have time for questions from audience. This is a wonderful opportunity to ask your question to our experts. There are microphones in the auditorium, so please, the first question.
The representative of European Commission, hearing all inspiring presentations of other presenters, I have a question. What is a background and scientific reason of sponsoring such campaigns as those weeks of physical activity? Because it's, as we can clearly see, it's just, it looks for me like a political campaign and nothing else, or I maybe misunderstood your presentation. Thank you.
You're talking about the European Week of Sport in particular? Well, it's absolutely not a political thing. The idea is really to have an impact on citizens. So as I said, maybe then not clearly enough, but it will be really a bunch of activities taking place at national level for citizens. It's not something for politicians, it's something for citizens. So there will be many, many events, running events and things like that. So for you to participate, that's the idea. And to have a sustainable impact and giving people the interest in practicing new sport. I don't know if I'm replying to your question.
Okay, thank you, Oliver. Please, next question. Is there anyone, please, use this wonderful opportunity to ask questions to our experts.
Hello, Bryony Sinclair from World Cancer Research Fund International. Thank you very much for your presentations. My question relates to the theme of cross-sectoral collaboration. Some of the presentations did touch on some of the points that help facilitate this, but this collaboration. I was wondering if some of the speakers could elaborate on some of the barriers that do exist to cross-sectoral collaboration and what has been done to overcome these barriers.
Maybe Finland can answer this question.
Yes, we have a long history of cross-sectional collaboration, and it's essential, but it's of course not always easy, because when the people come with their own agendas and own ideas what should be done and how it should be done. So I think the key thing is to listen what the others are saying to you and trying to find the common interest and common grounds and common solutions. So I think that's the only way to go, and it takes time to build trust. We tend to have our own agendas, and the others tend to have their own agendas, and trying to understand where are the common grounds. They always exist, but it's just, I think it's a matter of giving it some time. And another issue I think it's very important is to have structures for that. So it's not up to the individuals only, because sometimes you can have very good collaboration when you know the people. But you have to be able somehow to communicate with the sectors, even when you don't know the people. So in my country, what we found very important is to have these horizontal structures, like horizontal committees and working groups, and try to take all stakeholders on board. Which often means that you have to have an actor sometimes, for example, the private sector or NGOs that have their own interest and try to settle that the goals are, at least from the health point of view, the goals for health are from the health sector. They may have some other strengths that are important for the operation.
One small answer from Greek, please.
Yeah, I would like also to build on what my colleague said. It's helpful, however, in talking about local governments, the same applies to national governments, to push health high on the social and political agenda. That if the city, so rather than thinking of different topics, because then there is a fatigue of committees and mechanisms. It is, I think, very helpful if a city were to say, for us, health is a central value in the vision, in the development of our city policies and strategies. We create an intersectoral mechanism. I also agree you need to have some kind of structure which enables, it's not only about collaboration, it's about policy cohesion, and it is also about accountability. You need mechanisms where sharing the vision that we want our city to be healthy, which can be expressed in different ways. Then we can talk about lifestyles and active living and no smoking areas, whatever you want to, healthy eating and so on. But there must be at the highest level an opportunity to have a cohesive view in our policies, and also a mechanism to even monitor, as you do very well, to monitor our commitment, our engagement, and our performance.
Paldies. Es saku paldies visiem runātājiem.
Thank you to all speakers, and now I would like to invite Kaspars Ozoliņš from THC Studies. We have had a good session, and after work we have to have a rest. And now we will do that a little bit more active. Please, Kaspars.
Kaspars. I'm from Riga, and I'm a fitness trainer and also educator for other trainers in Baltic states, a little bit in Finland. Don't run away, no. Where's the other woman? Come back, please. Yeah, you have to be on the stage now. And it's always nice to go to Finland to teach some trainers. That's a good opportunity. Also, I teach sometimes in Russia. And now I'm here to make you move. A little bit. Are you afraid already? You also stay on the stage? Yeah? So, when you talk 2 days and listen 2 days about healthy lifestyle and moving around, then you have to be open and ready to move on a spot, like here. I know you have suits, I know you have some not training suits, that's why I am here in my jeans and shirt and not in sports gear. And let's start thinking about moving around. We have 10 minutes, around 10 minutes to do it. So I see some sleepy eyes here. Did you have after party yesterday? Did you? Or you were exploring Riga? Yeah, you were exploring and having after party. So we will start to wake up our eyes at first. So take your palms, just sitting, take your palms together and rub them really strongly. Like this, really strong. Sorry, here that. And when you feel the heat there, that's your energy. Do you feel the heat? If not, then just a little bit stronger. Yes, okay. And now close your eyes and put the hands on your eyes. If you have glasses, take the glasses away. And put them on and keep just around 10 seconds. And now take them off. Yeah, we have our own hands as a energy, and we can use it to wake us up. So now you have to stand up. Thank you very much. You will have enough space here. We have 2 arms and 2 legs, and we can move, and you can start moving right here. If you told about inactive living at workplace, so you can try now. So we have 4 things to move, and we will shake them out and count down from 5 to 1, from 4 to 1, and then repeat it on a 1. So it looks like this. And you have to talk with me. You have to count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice view. 5, 2, 3, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. 4, 3, 2, 1. And 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, now from 3. 3, 2, 1. And speed it up. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Speed it up, speed it up, speed it up. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Nice. That's almost a traditional dance. Now, we will repeat this from 5 to 1 and then repeatedly on 1, but in your own language. So we will hear Spanish, Finnish and Latvian and Greek, all right? And you have to be loud, so your language will be the loudest. All right? So, yeah, some gents takes the jackets already off. So, ready? And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And speed it up. And louder. And louder. And third time. All right. Nice. Thank you very much. That's not... Thanks to you. That's not all what I wanted you to do. What about shoulders and neck? Is it tight? Gents and ladies who have jackets, now it's time to take it off. If you have something under. When did you have last time a good massage? When was it? In the after party. Nice, that's a good after party. So, if you haven't had, where to find some masseur? Where? Take a look to your partner. Find some partner. Sirpa. Find your partner. Do you know his or her name? So now greet. Yeah? You know your masseur's name. Now put your hands on the shoulders of your partner. Yeah. Don't be afraid of physical touch. Physical touch is a step to success for physical and healthy living. So now, just gently start to massage and do to your partner what you would like to receive from other. Or you don't have any, you have to run around. There's a lady with a look in her laptop. Yeah, nice. Everyone has a partner. Now massage a little bit. Then with your thumbs, try to find some tight points. Yeah. Scream if you need to scream. Yeah. Push them out, those tight points. On the right and on the left. Yeah. Around the shoulder blades. You still can touch only those places which are covered with clothes. I know, I see some good technique right there. Nice. Okay, hands off. You have to now take the, put the bad energy away, so shake it off. Poo, poo, poo. There's a lot of rubbish in the neck area. Switch. Switch. Now, with the best thoughts, you have to do this massage. Yeah, some tight necks there. Yeah. Tight shoulders. Do you need a massage oil? I have some with me. Yeah. If you don't have any idea how to do, just imagine that you are doing some food. Just doing something in a kitchen. Or remember the time you were doing massage to your dog. When did you do last time massage to a dog? Dog is a human. Dog also needs a massage. So now, with the thumb, try to find the tight points. There are some. We call them in fitness trigger points. You have to find the trigger points, those really hard ones. That's the stress. That's the stress about making the pollution more active, more healthy. You're thinking all the time and it goes right to your body. And now, hands off. Shake them off. Before we continue a little bit more, shake hands. Thank you, masseur. You can sign. Thank you. You can sign to a next appointment now. Yeah, if you need to travel to Swiss. And now, lastly, when you have the biggest stress ever, take your thumbs. Put them on the base of your skull. With other fingertips, just put them on your head. Yeah, with both hands. Yes, nice. And now trying to find each centimeter around the skull base. If you need to put the head a bit down or up, do it. Just massage it all through. Try to find your skull. Imagine your skull on a table. And now, all right, the base is done. Now go to the side, to your ear, behind the ear. Don't be afraid if you feel like a really huge energy lift now. Don't get too excited. Go around your ear, move up. All right, here, then up with both hands to your forehead. And now around the hairline. And massage it. If the skin doesn't move, if it's like sticking to the skull, that's bad. Then it's like really bad. If you look at your colleague and you see that it turns green, it's bad. All right. You now go back to the base of the skull. Yeah, you can close your eyes if you want, if you feel high. You could. You really could. And while you're finishing, I saw that you have a break like 1.5 hours. Actually, that's a time to go to the center of a city and to take the express 30 or 40-minute class in a gym. You could. But if you can't, you can go to WC and like jump a little bit, shake out. And if you don't, then go out of the building and have some fresh air there. It's really hard to be without the fresh air and without the sunlight. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope you all, after this conference, have real inspiration to make the population more healthy. Do it yourself, and then you only can talk to others. So I hope you have a great evening today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we have time for dinner. Dinner is from noon till 1:30. And once again, there is mobile application exhibition. Please use the opportunity. Thank you once again for all speakers, and have a good lunch. Thank you.